Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to go over the Season 18 PvE tier list, my assumption on the new heroes rankings, and what overall has been changed since the Season 16 one, because I don't think I have made one for the Season 17, because I didn't really think it was necessary. I did overplay some heroes in the past like Izanami, but I have now changed her down to the A tier, like she's has a niche usage. She could be useful in the early stages, but she's really nowhere near the Elisha tier. So to go over, we still have the Fates. The new addition is being the Chronos. Chronos is better than Hela and she's on the par with Lucifer, although Lucifer is far better in something like Lost City, whereas Chronos seems to be better in the extreme hundreds because she keeps those buffs that heroes can stack up, like the buffs from the Fenrir, and she will then multiply and keep multiplying them until the battle is over. So she's good with heroes with that scale you infinitely, like Fenrir, heroes like Arcana, even though she has a limit. Heroes like Isis could also work, and any other hero that has flat scaling but is kind of unlimited. So mostly it's Fenrir and Odin, and then followed by Elisha and others. So Selene is also one of those examples. He stacks up so much stats that she then doubles or triples with her passive. So she's really strong in the endless PvE modes, but she's nowhere near the Lucifer tier in the PvP, at least in my opinion. But this is a PvE video, so yeah. Lucifer still keeping her crown, followed by Kronos on the par, or at least close. In the Lost City, Lucifer is still the queen. We have Hela, which is now the third tier team, weaker than the Chronos. We have Babylon, which I think I will be moving after like Asmodeus, because she has been nerfed in the Extreme 100 for the Season 17 and she didn't really play much of a part there. She's still great for the damage, she's still great for the boosts, but she's not really the main carry. Arcane Doorbell still remains the main carry, but I will move her after the buffers, so Yorm and Elisha still the best. I will be moving the Death Knight above the Babylon. Death Knight with her legendary runes, it's an absolute menace. If you did know, Death Knight's runes are just a better version of the Yorm's runes. And although Death Knight doesn't have the flat scaling that Yorm does, unfortunately, she's still a slightly better addition in my opinion, just because of how strong the overall damage boost is compared to the only ultimate boost. So Death Knight is a top contender this season for the PvE. We have the Asmodeus for the Lost City, and overall she's pretty great in the PvE, so she's really nice. And the future as is here, as I was making the video in the past, or rather the pre-release of the new Ophelia and uploading just now. Ever since the Ophelia is actually out and since testing her, she's actually not going to be at the S+ tier. Well, I'm going to move her to the S- tier, or actually just an S tier. The reason why is because she doesn't really do what old Ophelia does. I mean, she does and the numbers do add up. The issue is when you actually test those battles, when you test the results, the old Ophelia just gives them better. The main Ophelia might give you false results because of the +2 synergy, and in the PvP it affects a lot, and in the PvE as well. But yeah, overall the old Ophelia just does the job as equal to as the new Ophelia, even though the new Ophelia should be far stronger. So yeah, fixing my rank on this one, the new Ophelia is actually S- tier or S tier, depending on what type of account you're on and the other things. So yeah, if you're free-to-play player, you obviously should not have summoned for her. She's pretty bad. And if you're a low spender, she's also not worthy, unless you got her to 9 stars for the Extreme 100. But yeah, you won't find much of use for her, and this is why the PvE rankings are kind of hard to make nowadays, because most of the PvE is already or can be done with the existing heroes like Lucifer and +1 for the majority. But yeah, back to the video. We have the new Ophelia, which I believe will be just insanely broken in any kind of PvE. So even in Lost City, perhaps she will be one of the broken heroes I recall. Because of so much HP conversion to attack, she will just make your team deal a lot of damage. She will be for sure better than the Everhand Diana and the regular Ophelia. I think I will be moving the Gaia a tier below, so somewhere around here, like somewhere after Tsuki, I believe, will be the correct call. And Loki moves up a tier. She's a very big spammer. So with her spams, she can make Fenrir or Odin stack up. She can make Fenrir stack up a lot, and any other hero that scales up based on the cast will be benefiting from this hero a lot. So Lucifer, for example, as well. I'm not sure about Pandora. I will keep her in the S plus for now, but I don't think she's S plus tier. She might be at the top of the S tier, but yeah, I will keep her right here after the Sorija Nayushta. Sorija Nayushta still has great values because of her doubling the action and because of her Heart of the Demon, but it's mainly the doubling the action part that actually matters from her passive. So yeah, she will remain her place in the S plus tier, but I believe you could end up playing even without her in the near future, especially maybe with the new Ophelia. In the S tier, I have moved Victoria down from the S plus tier. She is no longer a main mandatory hero in the PvE because we do have Lucifer, Kronos, and Hela, and most PvE goes up to the 3 teams at the most, so it's usually 2 teams, which means Lucifer and Kronos is just enough, and there's no real place for Victoria to really shine in. Same could be said for Cleopatra and the Troopus as well. We have the regular Ophelia in here because the new Ophelia will be S plus tier. The regular Ophelia is good, but Abraham Diana is just better, and the new Ophelia will, or at least should be even better than both of them. So yeah, the conversion heroes are just outdating, or rather power creeping the old Ophelia. Leviathan is in the S tier. Arguably, you could put her in the S plus tier, but I'm not too sure about that. She's great, but not that great in my opinion. We have the Tsuki for the early game. She's really insane and even works up to the late game, but falls off pretty hard when you get these heroes right above. We have Gaia, which is just worse version of Asmodeus, like much worse. We have Hades for the PV cheesy things, like you can soul devour some of the Lost City stages or the Palace of Penrose stages, but I think I will be moving him down to the S tier. I don't think he's no longer that necessary. We have the new Emily, which I believe will be slightly better than the Eve, and she should actually be better than the Tsuki herself, so I will be moving the Gaia even further. So new Emily is actually Tsuki plus Eve, so I believe she will be much better than the Tsuki, although I think the issue is the new Emily doesn't steal in PvE, so we will see about that. Maybe the Tsuki will be slightly better in the PvE because of that. And then we have the Mist for trios, 4 duos, whatever. They're just kind of good together, and you can use them in the Palace of Penrose like this. I have been using these ones with the Sandra because I really do like the Sandra and this relic interaction. It makes enemies HP disappear. Tiamat for the corrode stack as well as the Ascended Bastard, so I'm not really using the Tsuki here, but she's still great in the early stages for sure. And then we have Venus, which I will be moving above these two. I think Venus is great, but kind of like too niche to be played around in PvE, but still she's really strong hero in the PvE as well. So I'll be moving her right here. In the S tier, as I have said, I moved down the Hades. Hades is no longer as valuable as before. Same for the Wuzetian. So you have this team in the Palace of Penrose, for example, that is basically just a cheesy setup with these heroes right here. So you Phantom Illusion one hero, you eat the other, and then you basically play around the survival with the monarchs. So this team could work, but I don't think it's necessary. I have been clearing the Palace of Penrose with like 4 heroes. You don't even need 5 anymore, just these Valiantors right here. I didn't really test Kronos in here, but I could argue you could just replace Hela. You could replace Ophelia with Arohan Diana, new Ophelia or something else. So yeah, even Loki really. So yeah, Palace of Penrose is really easy. I'm not finishing it to have teams to test, to have heroes to test, but overall you shouldn't really struggle to finish this. It's really easy. We have the new Valkyrie, which is the Elohim. So I think Elohim will be strong if she's coded right, so I think she could be arguably in the S tier. The issue is she will not work against bosses, therefore I don't think she will be mandatory because most if not all of the PvE content is already finished. Then Mulan and Dahlia pretty much in the same boat. They are very good but very outdated, so you can use them if you have nothing better. They both shine at 7 stars and don't really require anything about that. But yeah, they're just outshined by the new heroes, new scalers, and new multi-actions. I think Astrid also belongs to the same boat. She does need 6 stars only instead of 7 stars, but arguably same logic. I will be moving Odin up bit up about this. I think Odin kind of brings her value up with the Kronos now and could be played around in the future with her, or Fenrir. Both are really strong with Kronos. And then we have Aphrodite, Behemoth, and all of these cheesy heroes that you use in the Palace of Penrose or sometimes in the Lost City. But none of these heroes really make any teams far better. They're just too cheesy. And Eudora has been kind of, I think, it's time to actually move her to the tier below. I don't think she's worthy to be up. So this year, the tier A is not ordered, but these are some heroes that are not ideal, but they could work in some niche cases. So you can play around them, play them, and for example, Wukong Karnag are used in the Primeval realm. They're not bad DPS heroes. Same could be said for Lancelot. Narisa isn't terrible in some modes, but yeah, these heroes could work. They're solid in the early stages, but they're not really something to work towards or use in the PvE. The Fulk would be great if they would have swapped her out first to actually work in the PvE, but since they did not, she's only in the A tier in my opinion. Then we have Rift Odyssey picks, so these heroes you will be using Rift Odyssey. If you have Elmer, you don't need Ra. If you don't have Elmer, you will need Ra. Lamia 7 stars, perfect hero for the early stages to clear the Hell 100. Dorabella still works in some of the PvEs, especially good in the Lost City. Saline works in the Extreme 100 in the Season 17. Fenrir really good as well in the Season 17, the key hero to clear it. So these two heroes could rise up with Chronos, so don't sleep on them, they could be really good. Saline does need legendary wounds though to work. Same could be said for the Dorabella, and Lamia works with epic runes. But don't really focus on her unless it's her season or her time to shine. Lost City, I don't really need to talk about that. Go watch the Lost City video. It's very detailed, very impactful. It will help you clear all of the 100 levels if you have the materials needed. So I just ordered them from the Valiantors to like Mystifers and then whatever the Verdians is. But even in Verdians, you can use the Valiantors too, or actually something like a smooth use Mystifers. And in the Dawnbringers, you can use the 7 ethereals with the Venus and Lucifer. And in the worst case, we have these heroes that are not really that good in the PvE, so don't try to use them in there. They're not that amazing and they won't give you much benefit. And then we have the skip tier, so these heroes never used. And that's pretty much it for the PvE tier list. I think it's pretty accurate. So that knight rises up, and I do believe that the new heroes, Ophelia, will be at the top. Emily will be usable, but her non-stealing ability not working in the PvE might make her slightly worse than Tsuki, especially in the early game for sure. And the Elovin might be either S or S plus tier or even S or A tier. She's really iffy, and it will all come down to her coding of how she is actually coded. Thank you for watching, and see you guys in the next tier list video.